Welcome to the Vantage HR Influencers Podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Vantage Circle.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Vantage HR Influencers Podcast. I'm your host, Riha, and today we're diving into a topic that is reshaping the future of rewards and recognition. That is, can we really leverage AI to transform total rewards into a more customized experience for every employee? As for organizations become more diverse and employee expectations become more personalized, traditional one size fits all rewards no longer deliver the impact they once did. Employees today expect benefits, recognition, and compensation experiences that reflect their individual needs, life stages, and motivations. AI is now stepping in to make this level of personalization not just possible, but scalable as well. And to help us break this down, I'm joined by Aatmada Singh, Total Rewards Leader at Visteon Corporation. Welcome to the show, Aatmada. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you, Riha. Thank you. It is my pleasure to be here today.
Great. We are equally delighted. So, before we kick things off, can you briefly take us through your professional journey so far? We are eager to learn about your journey.
Sure, Riha. Thank you so much. Hi everyone. I am Aatmada, and I currently lead Total Rewards at Visteon, where I am responsible for designing and implementing compensation and benefits across APAC and across the globe where Visteon is present. Now, over my 18 plus years career in Total Rewards, I've had the opportunity to work with diverse organizations, from TCS, where I started my HR journey, to Reliance Communication and Tata Motors Finance, and now with Visteon. This journey has taken me across IT, telecom, NBFC, and automotive sectors, giving me a unique perspective on how different industries approach employee rewards. Now, what excites me most about this topic is that I have lived through the evolution of total rewards, from manual compensation planning to today's data-driven, globally integrated programs. In my current role, I am leading rewards initiatives across geographies, also working on future state job architecture frameworks and managing everything from executive compensation programs to designing retention strategies, and so on. I am particularly passionate about the intersection of global consistency and local relevance. That is, how do you create reward programs that feel personalized and meaningful to maybe an engineer in Pune, to a manager in Munich, maybe an executive in Detroit, all while maintaining fairness and alignment with business objectives. So that's the challenge AI promises to help us solve, and I'm excited to explore that with you today, Riha. Over to you.
That's such an inspiring venture, Atmada. Thank you so much for sharing your experience.
Thank you.
Now, with your permission, I would like to delve into our topic further. Shall we?
Sure.
Okay,
Please go ahead.
great. Okay. So, Atmada, everyone says AI will personalize rewards. But what's that part HR leaders are completely underestimating about this shift? What do you have to say?
Mhm. Sure. So that's a very interesting question, Riha. In my view, the most underestimated part is the shift from a process-driven HR to data science-driven HR, right? So the unseen challenge is about the data governance and integrity. HR leaders focus on the output, that is maybe the personalized offer, but they underestimate the complexity of the input, which is the data itself. So AI is only as good as the data it is fed. This requires robust data governance, ensuring data is clean, ethically sourced, unbiased, and integrated across different HRIS, payroll, and engagement systems. So this is a massive infrastructural change, in my opinion, and not just a software update. Another thing that HR leaders are underestimating is the cultural and organizational readiness required to act on AI generated insights. Many are focused on the technology itself, right? Like the algorithms, the data collection, the platforms. But what they are missing, the harder part is that are we prepared to actually deliver on the personalized AI recommendation? So here is what I mean. So AI might tell you that one employee values professional development opportunities while another prioritizes flexible work arrangements, and maybe a third wants immediate financial recognition. So that's a valuable insight, right? But can your organization actually deliver 50 different variations of reward packages? Do you have the budget flexibility, the managerial training, and the systems infrastructure to execute on that level of customization? So that is, I think that is the first, or the, I would say, most important underestimation about this shift that we are making. The other challenge, or the other underestimated challenge, is the human element of the change management, right? So employees and managers have spent decades in the world of standardized benefits. Moving to a AI driven personalization means fundamentally changing how people think about fairness, equity, and what they are entitled to. So that's a massive mind shift that requires careful communication, transparency about how decisions are made, and trust building around the AI systems themselves. So I think I'll give it back to you, Riha. That's what I feel about this question.
Yes, Atmada, like these pointers that you talked about, how like HRs are underestimating the aspects like shift from a process driven HR to data driven HR, and the cultural and organizational readiness, and the human element of change management, and the explanation you gave around them. So I guess that's really important for HRs out there to really look into these aspects, because these gets underestimated or overlooked, right?
Yes, very important. Yes.
Great. Okay, so now moving ahead, uh, when we talk about customization in total rewards, Atmada, what
Mm-hmm.
are employees really expecting?
Hmm. Okay. Yep. So I would say that employees are not necessarily expecting 100% bespoke rewards packages. What they are expecting is relevance and respect for their individual circumstances. Right? They
Yes.
would want to feel seen and understood rather than treated as some interchangeable parts of a machine. So maybe at the most basic level, employees expect their life stage and personal situation to be acknowledged.
Yes.
Um, so, as an example, a 25-year-old early in the career has fundamentally different needs than a 45, let's say 45, 50 years old with aging parents and children possibly going to college. So in both these different scenarios, employee wants rewards that actually solve their problems. So whether that's student loan assistance, elder care support, mental health resources, or maybe career advancement opportunities. So that is one. They may also expect some kind of choice. So that means, so basically customization is the need of an hour. That doesn't mean that HR decides what's best for each person, right? It
Yes.
means employees have the tools and options to configure their rewards in ways that make sense for their lives.
Yes.
We can think of it like a video streaming service, like like Netflix, which suggests movies basis your preference, or basis the kind of streaming that you have been doing. So employee expects the benefit platform also to suggest relevant options. So based on your maybe location, family size, stress level indicated by the wellness app in the organization. These are the top three healthcare plans and a recommendation for a mental wellness subscription, something like that. So
Yes.
it should our benefit program or our total rewards program should act or work like a streaming service like Netflix, which can recommend on its own that this is something which is good for you based on your situation, current
Yes.
situation, right? Then finally, employees also expect timeliness, right? The old annual review cycle that doesn't match how people live and work anymore. If someone just had a major life event or completed a significant project or maybe going through a difficult period, they expect the organization to be responsive in real time and not 6 months later during the next review cycle. So these are a couple of points I can think about while we are on this topic about customization for total rewards. Riha.
Yes, Atmata, the explanation that you gave, it really confirms, that personalization is not about more rewards, right? Like you said, it is
Yes.
more about relevance, respect, and that understanding of individual's life stage, right? And based on that,
Mhm.
how the rewards and benefits are given. Yes. So that
Yes.
understanding is very essential to everyone.
Correct. Correct. Yes.
Okay. So, moving ahead, how do you personalize rewards for individuals without creating that perception of inequality inside the workforce?
That's quite an interesting question, Riha,
Yes.
and this is perhaps the most delicate challenge also in the
Yes.
uh, entire conversation, and it requires absolute transparency and clear principle. What I would say that the key is to distinguish between equity, that is giving people what they need to thrive, and equality, that means giving everyone exactly the same thing. So equity versus equality, I think is the key to distinguish or personalize the rewards for the individuals.
Yes.
So what does this mean is that first you need a clear framework that everyone understands.
Yes.
Personalization should be based on transparent criteria like your role requirements, performance levels, tenure, life circumstances, etc. These should not be, arbitrary decisions made in a black box. And
Absolutely.
why do I say that? Because in my view, when employee understand the why behind different reward calculations, they are much more likely to accept variation. So that is first clear framework.
Yes.
Second, we should establish a consistent value proposition. That means that even if the component differ, right, basis the employee situation or his life choices, the total value of rewards package at similar levels should be comparable.
Yes.
So, as an example, one employee might get more professional development budget, while another get an maybe an enhanced parental leave. But the overall investment should be equitable based on their role and contribution, right?
Absolutely.
That is one key point I would say, and then also we should focus on maybe I would say expanding the pie rather than just redistributing it. That means when customization is introduced alongside an overall enhancement of the rewards program, it is received much better than when it feels like resources that are just being shuffled around with some people winning and others losing.
Yeah.
So and to have this entire thing of personalization work, I would say we should there is also a need to involve employees in the process.
Yes.
As total rewards professional or HR professionals, we need to co-create that framework with employee resource groups, conduct surveys about their preferences, and maintain feedback loops. So when employees or people have voice and input, they are more invested in the outcomes. Even the outcomes may vary across individuals. So I feel that would make our programs more impactful.
Yes. Atmata, that was a very much needed explanation here. Okay. And it really shows that, fairness is no longer about that sameness, but it is more
Mm-hmm.
about the transparency, the intent, and, perceived equity, right? About having a clear
Yeah.
framework, consistent value proposition, as you mentioned. Yes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And Riha, as you just touched upon equity, right? So maybe one more point or a small example I can share to
Yeah, yeah.
make this point more clear that as an HR person we must proactively communicate with the employees, with the organization, that equity is not equal to equality.
Yes.
So equality, so as an example, we can say that equality is everyone getting the same shoes, right? That is
Yes.
uniformity or equality. Whereas equity is everyone getting the shoes that fit them best, which
Yes.
we can also call it as personalization. So basically, personalization is the tool to achieve equity in the organization.
Yes. Yes. Well said,
Yeah.
Madhu.
Sure.
Okay,
Thank you.
so now moving ahead, uh,
Yeah,
where
sure.
do current total rewards frameworks fail when applied to a
Mm-hmm.
multi generational distributed workforce, and how AI can fix those blind spots? What do you have to say about that?
Yeah. Okay. So in current scenario, we are talking lot about AI, and it is definitely useful, and it's the need of the hour for all the organizations to
Absolutely.
look at how AI can support our entire journey, whether it is HR or other of organizations. I would say, to your question, where the total rewards framework fail when we look at or when we apply it to a multi-generational workforce, is that the current reward frameworks often based on a one size fit
That's
all model,
yes.
and this fail primarily due to lack of resolution and speed. So as I said, one size fit all model, right? So they are built on assumption of uniformity, the assumption that everyone works in an office, follows the same schedule, have similar family structures, and probably progresses through careers in linear paths. But that simply doesn't reflect the reality, right? Currently,
Yeah.
if you look at our multi-generational workforce, um, the traditional rewards assume that everyone wants same things at the same career stage. But if you look at the Gen Z population, they might prioritize purpose and learning over salary
Yeah.
in ways or in methods which boomers didn't at that age, right? Meanwhile, we also see older workers who want to downshift or pursue portfolio careers rather than traditional requirement. But sadly, our reward structure have no flexibility for that. If we look at another example, like say a distributed teams, right? The challenges multiply. For example, someone who is working remotely in a low cost of living area has different financial pressures than someone in an expensive maybe urban city or headquarters.
Yes.
Time zone differences mean that real time recognition programs might systematically exclude certain team members.
Yes.
Cultural differences also play a major role. So, what could feel like a meaningful reward in certain geographies may be irrelevant for others.
Absolutely.
So, if we talk about all these challenges, so AI can address these blind spots by processing complexity at scale. It can definitely analyze patterns across demographics, locations, and work styles to identify which rewards actually drive engagement for different segments. And in our, we see a lot of AI models or agentic AI coming into the picture who can process a large or a complex set of data to analyze all these patterns, right? So it can detect whether certain groups are getting benefited from a certain programs or not. if it's remote workers, are our wellness benefits rate lower because they may not be using our gym access because they don't have that option in their remote location. So all such things AI can do that kind of a data processing. AI can also enable dynamic adaptation. So what I mean is that rather than having a annual review programs or annual performance review, AI can continuously monitor effectiveness and flag when certain offerings are becoming less relevant or when there are new needs are emerging. So it can become a continuous monitoring of the behavioral data, the data that we collect from the employees through the surveys, and it can then support us in answering the questions or apply it to a multi-generational and distributed workforce.
Yes. True, I truly agree with that, Atmada. And this one particular aspect, okay, which you mentioned, that about this one size fits all. I guess that is the biggest misconception the companies or the organizations are having, that
Right.
like that one size fits all thing, or that idea, it really resonates with the entire workforce. And in order to maintain that uniformity which they think they like want to maintain, that's where
Right.
companies fall short, right? And that's where the
Correct.
challenges they arrive, particularly with reference to like catering to the needs of multi generation, like Gen Z's and all, right? So yeah,
Right.
said AI, like it's becoming less of an option and more of a necessity, right?
Correct, correct. I would totally agree with you. And maybe we can, in this context, we can discuss one very good example around the job frameworks also and how we look at it, right? So, talking about blind spots,
Yeah.
a lot of times we try to treat a job as a person, and that is where the, I would say, the traditional frameworks fails because they price the job. That means this ignores that the same title means very different things to an employee in a high cost of living area versus a low cost area, or to a boomer ready to mentor versus a Gen Z focused on rapid skill acquisition. So how AI can fix it? AI can integrate real-time market data, granular location data, down to the zip code, and also dynamically track in-demand skills held by the employees. So, for example, any kind of specific coding language experience they may have, or certifications they have, and then AI can help us in calculating a more truer or a dynamic market value, right, for that particular job, rather than just putting a traditional framework or a traditional job title for that particular job.
Absolutely. Okay, so moving ahead, when rewards become tailored to each individual, what new ROI metrics should HR start tracking that they've never tracked before?
Sure. Thank you, Riha. I think this is a very good question, and a lot of times, we create the program, we operationalize the program, but with all that, what is my return on investment is something which gets missed. So. So definitely it's the need of the hour, and we need to look at the ROI metrics. And with this advent of AI, what are the new ROI metrics which I should be tracking when I have, a more AI driven or a more personalized total rewards offering?
Yeah.
I would say that we need to, rethink success metrics beyond our traditional utilization rates and cost per employee figure.
Yeah.
And I would like to discuss, some of the metrics that will now become critical in a personalized total rewards environment.
Yes.
So the first being the relevant scores. So that means how well do the rewards offered match the actual needs and preferences of each employee segment. This would mean tracking not just whether benefits are used, but whether the right benefits are being offered to the right people.
Yes.
That is one. Secondly, the choice activation rates. So, which means that in a personalized system, are employees actually engaging with their options and making active choices, or
Yes.
are they just defaulting to standard packages, right? So this will help us in understanding more better what kind of choices or options we can provide to the employees. Also, another point is the I would say the quickness, or how quickly can you identify an emerging need and activate a relevant reward. That is one of the important metrics, how we can measure this. So if AI can detect that an employee is showing signs of burnout, for example, how long does it take to offer mental health support or additional time off? So basically, speed matters in a personalized system. That is something which is very important in my view. Now, apart from these, we in our previous questions, we have been talking about equity, right?
Yes.
How do we maintain equity? So we should also try to have some kind of a equity index or equity indices to measure this.
Yes.
So we will need a sophisticated metrics to ensure that personalization isn't creating, unintended disparities. It's a need to track reward value distributed across demographics, locations, and performance levels to ensure fairness in practice and not just in theory. So, which makes equity index very, very important in this context.
Yes.
And also, I would say one more matrix which is important is the predictive impact matrix. So instead of just measuring what happened, we need to measure what AI predicts, which will happen, right, as per the AI prediction. So, as an example, if you offer someone a specific development opportunity, what is the predicted impact on their retention, performance, and engagement, let's say 6 months down the line? And once we have this data, then we can track whether those predictions actually materialize or not. So having a prediction from the AI, and then also see if those predictions are turning out to be true, let's say 6 months down the line or 1 year down the line. So these are, in my opinion, couple of key metrics uh, we as an HR professional should try to look out for.
Thank you, Atmada, for sharing these metrics. Okay, these are, indeed, these are some unique metrics. We've been hearing all those other traditional metrics, right? But since
Yes.
you're talking about
Mhm.
the personalized one, so they sound really unique. And I'm sure all the HR leaders out there, they will find these very helpful. If they're not aware about this, they should take these into consideration and implement these
Mm.
metrics in their organization, right? For the
Sure,
long run.
sure. That
Yes,
yeah, I think this is the need of the hour. So to begin with,
absolutely.
as I said, right, that we are very much focused on our traditional metrics, but
Yes,
with AI, in my opinion, these new metrics or new way of looking at things are very, very important. We definitely
absolutely.
will have that teething challenge, right? That how do I make this into reality? While
Yes,
talking about this theoretically is a very good thing, but there are a lot of other factors, like how my data is looking like in the organization. Are
yes,
my systems talking to each other? They are well integrated. Then only AI will be. Or how am I utilizing my AI tools and technologies over along with my existing systems and frameworks. Then only we will be able to start making some sense with some of these newer or some of these advanced metrics to measure our program success.
yes. Well said, Lata.
Mhm.
Okay, now before we wrap up our session, so there's this question. Now,
Mhm.
looking into the future, how different will total rewards look if AI matures the way we expect? And who do you think will struggle the most to keep up?
Yes. So the last question has to be a very, very interesting one, right,
Yes,
Ria?
yes.
Great. So, okay. So if, AI matures the way we expect it to, I think the total rewards will shift from being a very, a static HR function to becoming a real-time adaptive employee experience platform, and adding more meaning to the organization. So you imagine, rewards that automatically adjust based on life events, performance patterns, market conditions, and organizational needs, all happening seamlessly together in the background, right? We will also probably, likely to see the emergence of liquid benefits. So when I say liquid benefits, that means, instead of a fixed annual package, employees have dynamic reward allocations that can shift um, time to time based on the employee's circumstances. So, do you need an employee needs an extra childcare support this quarter? The system automatically reallocates from your professional development budget with your approval. Anybody is planning maybe a major home purchase, so your financial wellness tool kicks into high gear with personalized guidance and incentives, right? So those kind of things we can hope to see. And as I'm saying this, a lot of things look like, whether it is possible or not. But Riha, these are just my views, basis my
Yes.
understanding and reading of lot of things happening around, and a lot of other people may have different views. But I thought, this is what I feel, and I would like to share with you and our audiences. Um, Okay. Also, recognition, right, which is one of the key components of all the organizations. This will become immediate and contextual than episodic. With
Yes, yes.
AI, AI will definitely help managers and peers recognize contributions in the moment with rewards that actually matter to the recipient, rather than something which is happening on a quarterly or on a half yearly basis. Also, very interesting point is that the annual performance review and compensation cycle might become an artifact of the past, replaced by a continuous feedback and adjustment loops. So, as you will see, already a lot of organizations are into that space where the annual performance review is no longer an annual cycle, rather it is like a continuous process. So, with the help of AI, this phenomena, in my view, will become more and more stronger. So maybe to summarize, basically the total rewards will transform from a structured static package into a dynamic and always optimized portfolio. And when I say portfolio, this is a very interesting concept, and I'm trying to learn more and explore more on this topic. I thought I would like to share this with you, some kind of a future vision to have a total rewards portfolio, right?
Yes.
So basically, in this, rewards can be viewed like a flexible investment portfolio with a baseline of mandatory items like your salary, your health benefits. These are your mandatory items. The rest is a dynamic point system that employees can use to invest in options like additional paid time off, maybe some kind of student loan contributions, or mentorship hours, or something like upskilling or reskilling credits organizations provide. So the AI can help us in continuously suggesting the optimal allocation of these points, as I said, the dynamic points under the dynamic point system, and changing based on the market value, the personal performance, and personal needs data of an employee. Right. So maybe just to put a small example to it, let's say if a major life event is approaching for an employee, the AI automatically shifts some points towards financial planning services, taking from some other benefits which is currently maybe not more relevant for me. right? So these are, couple of things I would say that with the AI maturing, how the total rewards will look differently. So I think that's the first part of your question. Coming to the next part, who will struggle most to keep up? So yeah, that is again quite interesting, and I see three groups, in my view, three particular groups facing this challenge. One is organizations with rigid structures and culture. So companies that are, I would say, are heavily hierarchical or resistant to transparency, they will find it extremely difficult to implement truly personalized rewards.
Right.
Second is